I get it when you're about to drop a serious chunk of cash on a laptop, though what if I'm getting the wrong one? Anxiety can feel like a full-time job. You've probably spent evenings scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching YouTubers hype up 4K panels and RTX GPUs, and still wonder if the machine will actually fit into your day-to-day workflow without turning into a portable paperweight. I was in that exact spot last month, trying to pick a laptop that could handle both my 3D rendering marathon and the occasional night and gaming session, without sacrificing color accuracy for my client presentations. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The MSI Creator 17 is the kind of device that promises to bridge that creator-gamer gap. At first glance, it's a 17-inch beast with a mini LED UHD screen that claims 1000 nits brightness and a full DCP-3 color gamut, plus an RTX 3080 tucked under an Intel Core i7-11800H. Those are the headline numbers that get most people excited. But the real question is how those pieces work together when you actually fire up Blender, pull a 4K video timeline in Premiere, or just want to binge a game at 1080p after a long day. Let's start with the screen because that's where the creator claim really gets tested. I spent a solid afternoon editing a short promotional video on the laptop, switching between a color-graded sequence and a raw footage bin. The mini LED panel delivered the brightness I needed for a well-lit office window, and the 1000 nit peak meant the highlights stayed punchy even when I cranked up the HDR setting. The color coverage hit the promised 100% DCP-3, which is a big plus if you're delivering work that will be displayed on calibrated monitors or cinema projectors. In practice, that meant I could trust the on-screen reds and greens enough to make minor grading tweaks without constantly double-checking on an external monitor. That said, the panel runs at 60 Hz. For a 17-inch laptop, you might expect a smoother 120 Hz or higher, especially if you plan to game seriously. In a fast-paced shooter, the difference is noticeable. The motion feels a bit more stuttered compared to a dedicated gaming laptop with a higher refresh rate. If you're primarily using the machine for static work like photo editing, illustration, or video timeline scrubbing, the 60 Hz won't be a deal breaker, but if you want buttery smooth competitive gaming, you'll feel that trade-off. Performance-wise, the RTX 3080 mobile GPU paired with the 8-core i7-11800H lives up to the hype in a way the specs suggest. I ran a quick render of a complex 3D scene in Blender that would normally take around 12 minutes on my older workstation. On the Creator 17, it shaved that down to roughly 7 minutes, and the system stayed cool enough that the fan noise was present but not intrusive. The 32 GB of DDR4 RAM, split into two 16GB sticks, made multitasking feel seamless. I could have Photoshop, Premiere, and a Chrome tab with dozens of research sites open without hitting a memory wall. The 1TB NVMe SSD provided lightning-fast file access, which you'll notice immediately when loading large footage caches or swapping between heavy project files. One hidden trade-off that shows up once you start using the laptop for a full day is the weight and size. At just over 6 pounds, and with a chassis that's noticeably bulkier than a typical Ultrabook, the Creator 17 isn't a laptop you'll want to carry around campus or toss into a cramped CAF bag. It's more of a desktop replacement on the go that fits nicely on a desk with a single external monitor, or in a home office where you can leave it plugged in most of the time. If you're the type who needs to travel light and work from airports, this might feel like an overkill. Battery life is another practical consideration. With a 99 Wh battery, you might assume you'll get a full day of use, but the reality is more modest. In a typical editing session with the display at medium brightness and the GPU active, the battery lasted about 4 hours before I needed to plug back in. That's fine if you have a power outlet nearby, but for long flights or coffee shop work sessions it becomes a limiting factor. The upside is the laptop charges relatively quickly, around an hour and a half to a full charge, so you can top up during a short break. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a professional visual artist, video editor, or 3D modeler who needs a large, color-accurate screen that can handle HDR content without a separate monitor, the Creator 17 gives you a portable workstation that can also run the occasional game at respectable settings. The combination of a powerful GPU and abundant RAM means you won't be swapping out components for a while, and the mini LED panel adds a level of visual fidelity that cheaper panels just can't match. It's also a solid pick for students in design programs who are looking for a machine that can double as a gaming rig for downtime, as long as they're okay with the extra heft. On the